Hi, this is Denny Komoto, and I am back again. We're talking about collage. Sometimes when you go to do a collage, you discover you don't have the color of papers that you want exactly, or you want a paper that has a different shade or texture. You want to add some text in for depth. So I wanted to show you a couple of quick tricks for making colored paper. The first one, I made some already, but I wanted to show you how I do this as well. The first one I did is using food color, and that's something that virtually everyone has around the house. Um, Take a piece of newspaper, not the slick paper, but just regular newsprint. And you can try this on other kinds of paper too, and that's just fine. And you put a little bit of the food color right into your, oh, I gotta turn this down a little bit, right into your palette. And then you can dip it in, and you see you get a fairly light color. And as it dries, it becomes even a bit lighter. Okay, but you can do that with any. What I generally do is I do a page of each color, and then I rip it into strips, and that gives me quite a few pieces to work with. Okay, what else do I have here? I just pulled some things that were in my cupboard to give you an idea of what I had. Oh, that's really funny. Oh, okay. The next thing I did was I used children's watercolors, and you can see the difference in the depth of color. Now this is really vivid, bright. This is much more faded, but you might have a use for both. For example, you might tear a small piece of this lighter piece, if you were doing a rose, and put it right on the edge of a petal to give it a little bit of depth again. So with the, I've got some new paper here I haven't used. With the watercolor, I generally make sure that my brush is fairly wet, and then I get rid of some of the excess water. Just dip it into the paint and paint away. If you give it a couple of coats, it gets darker and darker, and then it will dry even darker. You can dry it with a hair dryer, you can put it in front of your heater, or you can just let it dry naturally. You can also go back later and you can add more color to it. If for some reason you don't have food color, you wanted a much lighter color, you could add quite a bit of water to it and come up with a really light tone. Okay, then these are just cheap watercolors. There's nothing expensive about them. So any color, kind of watercolors work. Okay, next, I wanted to try a couple of different things that were in my cupboard. And this is something I had bought at a garage sale a long time ago. It has to be probably 5 years ago. It's Mod Podge sheer orange, transparent, and it seals paper and gives it color. So I painted that on earlier, and you will see that the orange looks more, well, in the picture it looks sort of orange. It's sort of a beigey orange, and when I move the paper you can see it shines. It has a gloss finish as compared to this other paint, which is just a matte green. Okay, and all I did is I put a little bit in my palette and I brushed it on, and it was about that thick. I didn't take very much time. And I got this, I really like this effect, and it's sort of mottled, and then it has that sheen to it. Now the green I used was something else I had bought years ago, and it's called Gel Stain and Glaze Unicorn Spit. Comes in all sorts of different colors. I have some right here, and you can again just paint it on your paper and let it dry. The idea is that you don't want it so dark that you can't see the print. The headlines, the pictures, the writing all adds to the depth of this painting or collage paper. Okay, one last set to show you. Some of you have cheap bottles of acrylic craft paint hanging around. Those work just great too. I put some over here in my palette, and this is a Doris matte acrylic paint. I think it cost me maybe 50 cents, and it is right here, and I just painted it on. Looks like I need a little bit more in there to get a darker color. Right now it has a pretty light color. That's darker. If I wanted it light again, I could thin it out with just a little bit of water. When you're thinning it out with water, personally, you don't need to pour it into the palette. If you just dip your brush into the water and then don't squeegee it off and bring it over to your palette, that's going to add enough water to give you a nice transparent look. So this is a little bit darker. Now, this last one is a new product, relatively new product on the market. It's by Folk Art, which is a company that, again, does inexpensive craft paints, but it's called Color Shift, and I think it runs about $2.50 for a bottle, which is a little bit more expensive, but it is really worth it for what it does. Any of these color shifts, when you paint them, and then you move them, you get a little bit of a different color. And I don't know if you can see that on the video, but it's purple when I look at it like this, and when I tilt it, it's gold. So that is very cool, and I just had a little bit here. It's going dry. And this is lighter than the purple, but it seems to dry plenty clear. Okay, I'm going to be back later tonight or tomorrow with the next technique. This is a good thing to make up in advance if you know what colors you're going to do. I keep just a shoebox, and I have strips of these colors in my shoebox so that I'm prepared with colors if I need them. So that's all for now. Thank you. Oh, there I am. Bye-bye.